Well, good morning to you, Naledi, and to the viewers at home. Well, what we do see at the moment is just a bit of officials who are doing the last preparations for this event so that it goes smoothly, as well as quite a lot of law enforcement agencies who are ensuring that they look after any eventualities that will come this way. But of course, what we've been seeing is that a lot of members of parliament are making their way into the hall, particularly the ANC caucus, which is expected to be holding a caucus meeting this morning till about lunchtime. And of course, all the different parties will also be, going into their own meetings to ensure that whatever decisions that those parties make are actually carried out in the House today. Today is also going to be just about numbers in terms of how this report will be considered, given that it only needs a 50% plus one majority for it to be approved by the House. But of course, different parties are going into this debate with different views. Joining me now is the EFF spokesperson, Mr. Sinawo Tambo. Mr. Tambo, thank you so much for joining us this morning. As the EFF, as you go into the House, how will you be voting with this in terms of this report? And have you issued instructions to your MPs, or how do they vote, or do they go according to their conscience?
Look, the conscience of the members of the EFF is the defense of the Constitution. The conscience of the members of the EFF is abiding by the rule of law, abiding by the principles of accountability and transparency, and heeding advice from the Constitutional Court, which has condemned Parliament in the past about its failure to hold the executive accountable. That is what is going to guide the voting of the members of the EFF of Parliament today. And undoubtedly, we are going to vote in support of the Section 89 report into the crimes which were committed in relation to Phala Phala farm. We've welcomed that report, we support that report, and we've thanked Chief Justice Sinawo for the sterling work he has done in a timely manner. And the report was very damning. It has found that Ramaphosa has violated the Constitution of South Africa. It has found that he acted in business dealings while he is the President of the state, which is in violation of the laws of this country and the Constitution. It's found that he has violated the Prevention of Corruption and the Corrupt Activities Act. And we are going to vote in support of that. And we are actually concerned as to why is it that Cyril Ramaphosa and the members of the ANC are so scared to allow this process to proceed. Because it is this very process that would be able to clear his name. But he's adamant that he doesn't want any further inquiry into Phala Phala farm, which is concerning for us. But we are confident that we are going to ensure that Cyril Ramaphosa is ultimately impeached.
Now, several opposition parties have called for a secret ballot vote, but that has been declined twice by the Speaker. There will be a roll call voting system today. What do you make of that?
Look, it was logical to call for a secret ballot. The EFF has, of course, said that those who have been speaking on television and parading themselves as forces of the Constitution, as people who want accountability and transparency, the likes of Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma and all of them, must be able to vote in an open process so that they can show the people of South Africa where their loyalties lie, to the Constitution or to the party. But following the stupidity of Gwede Mantashe, who's been going around threatening people, reminding them of what happened to Makosi Khoza, who stood against Jacob Zuma, and threatening people that they will become independents if they do not vote according to the party line, means that members of Parliament are not going to vote with their conscience. They are going to violate the Constitution. They are not going to practice their duties to the people of South Africa. In terms of being loyal to the Constitution, they are going to toe a party line under a threat of expulsion, suspension, or removal from Parliament. So the secret ballot was logical in that context. It has been denied. Those who are truly brave enough to confront Cyril Ramaphosa, or not cowards, are going to vote in favor of this impeachment process in the same way that they've been pronouncing in public. If they are loyal to the Constitution, if members of Parliament who are elected individually here in this House are loyal to the Constitution, they are going to vote in support of this process, which is going to shed much more light on what happened at Phala Phala farm.
Have you lobbied any ANC MPs, because you would probably need a bulk of them to be voting with the opposition in order for this report to be adopted? Have you been actively lobbying some of the ANC MPs?
It's not the duty of the EFF to lobby anyone. We are going to vote according to our conscience and our loyalty to the Constitution of South Africa here as members of the EFF. And there are members of the ANC who have expressed their willingness to support this process. And they must do so publicly now. They do not need to be lobbied by the EFF. They don't need to be engaged by the EFF. We expect them to vote according to what the laws of this country dictate to them as members of Parliament. It's their duty And the people of South Africa will see today whether these members of parliament are loyal to the constitution, are loyal to the rule of law, or are loyal to their pockets and their stomachs. And that's what's going to happen today. So we are not going to be engaging in any extensive lobbying of anyone. They must expose themselves if they are upright members of parliament, or if they are deployees who are so desperate for their salaries that they'll betray the constitution.
Do you think you'll be able to make the numbers when it comes to voting?
Look, it won't be about numbers ultimately. We are confident that ultimately Cyril Ramaphosa will be impeached. It may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, but he will be impeached, and he will not finish his term of office. He will leave this office of the President of South Africa with nothing. So history will remember what decisions are taken by members of parliament today. History will record who stood on the rule of law, on the side of the rule of law, and who stood on the side of the constitution, and who stood in defense of their stomachs. That is what history is going to record today. And that is one of the most important things that we must emphasize to the people of South Africa, that it is a matter of principle, that this process of the Section 89 was established after the Constitutional Court condemned Parliament for failing to hold the executive accountable. Now the ANC is spitting in the face of that very court again, and that will be exposed today. So numbers or no numbers, principle must stand, principle must prevail, and we are going to expose those who are going to defend corruption in this parliament yet again today.
Now, lastly, before I let you go, the EFF is part of the Forum of Opposition Parties, and we're hearing in some media issues that are being circulated that you are even considering approaching the courts to enforce the secret ballot. Is that true?
Look, it's a consideration within the ranks of the opposition parties forum. We're considering all of our options. After today, there'll be a much clearer direction in terms of the outcomes, which will guide what is the way going forward. But Cyril Ramaphosa is not going to get off the hook. That is one thing that everyone must know in South Africa. Be it today or tomorrow, we are going to ensure that he is removed from that office that he's occupying as a criminal underworld lord who launders money, who tortures people, who misuses state resources to track down suspects and torture them, and then lies. I mean, the panel report even said that the evidence submitted by Cyril Ramaphosa must be approached with caution. That's because he's an unreliable person. And so the opposition parties will explore all avenues and means, whether be it legal or legislative, to ensure Ramaphosa is held accountable, and we will communicate such decisions in due course.
Now, history has taught us that the EFF can be quite robust in the House. Should we expect a peaceful sitting this afternoon?
The EFF is always peaceful. We're a peaceful organization, and any interactions we've had in Parliament in the past have been in line with holding the executive accountable. So you can expect the EFF to continue to hold the executive accountable, and how that manifests itself we'll see later today.
All right, thank you so much. Sinawo Tambo is the spokesperson of the Economic Freedom Fighters, giving us his party's view in terms of how they will approach this debate this afternoon, which will consider the independent panel reports, recommendations that the president has a case to answer and may have violated the constitution. So the sitting this afternoon will debate of whether that report should be adopted and whether Parliament should actually establish another specifically constituted committee that will actually take forward that report and probe the president. But for now, we're going to cross back to you guys in studio. We'll be having more political parties later this morning.
We look forward to hearing from them. We look forward to hearing from them as well. That they are reporter Bulelani Phillip speaking to us in Cape Town outside the City Hall.